Why is a professional brand important? They say that your professional brand is basically how people perceive you as a professional. We would want to have a good reputation, wouldn't we? But sometimes what people know about us does not completely describe what we have to offer, isn't it? These impressions really do matter. And given the digital world, first impressions are made not only at phone screens or interviews or even on the computer screen, but as employees look at your resume and applications and view your online profiles. To be recognized for the right thing, it is essential to build our professional brand. Ask a Trainer is a podcast brought to you by Compass Mind Asia, where we interview trainers to explore more on their fields of expertise. I'm Shireen Kelly, and today we have Ranukka Singham, an international image and perception coach, with us, and we are going to explore more on the topic of professional branding and building online and offline presence because it is
so many
important.
questions on training programs? Just ask the trainers.
I'd like to welcome today Ranukka.
Hello.
Hi, Ranukka.
Hi. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. How are you today?
Doing well. 5th day into the new year. So I'm still hopeful and excited.
Great things are about to happen this year for sure.
Yeah, definitely. Yep.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Ranukka, for joining us at Ask the Trainer session. So we've got so many great questions for you as our audiences will want to learn from you because you're the expert in this area. So maybe we can get started on the questions. Will that be good?
Sure.
All right. Okay. So before we explore more on the topic, can you explain to us what is professional branding all about?
Right. So professional branding, in my terms, is a subset of personal branding. In a sense where personal branding covers exactly how you brand yourself, whether it's online or offline. Professional branding is how you brand yourself in professional settings. In other words, at work. Yeah. So that's how I feel professional branding, the definition of it is.
Okay. So it's more of at work setting, right?
Right.
Okay. So to whom is professional branding important?
I think anyone that is looking to progress in their career, or even like business owners, who are thinking to really set a mark in the industries that they are in, really focusing and honing that your professional brand is very important, because I think I share this a lot in my own platforms. If you don't brand yourself, someone else would do it for you, right? So I think, in a sense, wherever you are in your career, even if you are maybe in a junior level, you just came into the workforce, whichever the position you're in, it is important to really focus on that.
Otherwise, someone else will brand you. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and I think that's really a very bad idea, because when someone else does it for you, essentially you don't have any say or any opportunities to change the perceptions people have in the workplace of you. So I think that's something that you have to really consider upon. I say this with lots of passion, right? Because I realize a lot of people, maybe in junior or middle management positions, feel that because of where they are in their career right now, it might not be that important to brand themselves. A lot of times I hear people telling me, maybe not now, not important yet. Maybe when I reach a certain level, maybe when I'm in a senior position. But then my question to them is that then when by the time you reach that position, don't you think that your brand itself has already been carved in stone? Don't you want to really at least have a say in how it is actually being perceived even from the beginning? Yeah, so things like that are really important to really realize lah.
Correct. Otherwise, it's a bit too late to brand yourself when you're already at sea level. You start at the beginning. That's always the best, and then you improvise as you go along. Is that right?
Correct. Yes. Yeah. Because the thing about professional branding is it's very fluid. That means it doesn't mean that when you first started your career, this is how you brand yourself. It doesn't mean that this has to be it when you reach to a higher level in your career. It has to change based on the environment that you're in, the position you're in, or even the industry. Some people change industries, right? Like for me, from healthcare to right now doing training and consultancy, right? Like so, whenever you change your career trajectory in a way, the way how you brand yourself has to also change.
That's
Yeah.
right. Actually, I remember meeting a group of young graduates,
Yeah.
and I basically took them through an activity. And the
Mm-hmm.
activity actually was about branding themselves.
Oh,
So they
okay.
didn't know how they branded themselves, but this was the question to the audience. The
Okay.
question to the audience was, "What do you think this person looks like?" So the person was actually an auditor, but people said she looked a lot like a teacher.
Yeah.
That's the first perception that people saw in that auditor.
Yeah, exactly.
So they're so
Yeah,
right. It's very important to brand yourself. If not, someone else is going to brand you for you, and it's going to be very painful if it's not aligned to your branding.
exactly. And us humans, right, subconsciously, whether you want to admit it or not, you would tend to already have a first impression towards someone the first time you meet them, right? It's not that we are judging someone, or for that matter, but it's just innately in us that the first 7 seconds, like what you mentioned, right, when you see someone, actually this person's an auditor, but you would just think that, oh, I think it's a teacher.
Mm,
How did that come about, right? It's really, it's a subconscious thing that we actually all do.
yeah, yeah. I
Yeah.
can't blame people for it, but it's just
Yeah.
normal because all of us are exposed to the TV series and movies, and which actually make us combine what we see and what we perceive.
Yeah,
Yeah.
very
So
true.
So, how does professional branding affect one's performance and position in their career, and why do employees or people in general need to equip themselves with it?
Okay.
Mm,
Personally, I think that, in one particular department in an organization, you might have a situation whereby everyone is of the same qualification. And sometimes even the fact that everyone perhaps has the same, about the same level of working experience as well, right? And when you have situations like this, generally the next question is who is better than the other, right? If everything else is the same, then how do you differentiate each other, right? So that's why I feel really learning to brand yourself professionally helps you in your career trajectory, because when you brand yourself right, in other aspects, other than your qualification, which is already something that you need to already have, it really helps you to move faster up the ladder, because in a sea of people who are very similar to you, right? If you don't stand out, the reality is that it's either the organization will have an external hire in, to fill up a position that is higher than you, or someone else that is going to that knows how to brand themselves better would actually move faster than you do. So I think that's something that a lot of people need to realize, because most often when I speak to millennials and Gen Zs, the most common thing that I hear from them is that I don't think I need to brand myself. I will let my work speak for itself. But that's the reality, right? Like, I think the fact that you are being hired means that people already know that you are good at what you do. But
mhm.
in today's world, that's just not enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, because yeah, you being good at your job is already it is already an expectation. It's not a wow thing. So
Mm,
how then do you really stand out and be memorable in your organization? How to brand yourself, right? And when I say stand out, a lot of people sort of like misunderstand it and think that, oh, standing out means I have to be always heard. So that means I have to always be loud. I always have to be the one having the last say. And that is so far from the truth.
yeah.
Um, unless that is your personality, because I have seen people who, I mean, naturally their personality is just very out there, very vocal, very assertive. If that's you, then that's fine. But if that's not you, the good news is you don't have to be someone that you're not, essentially, right? In order to brand yourself. Yeah, there's many other ways, to
Oh,
be very subtle about it.
okay. All
Yeah.
right. So now that a lot of businesses are switching to online platforms, right?
Mm.
Briefly, how can one build their online presence? Would you like to share some important tricks so that our viewers can learn something?
Okay. I think first things first is maybe establish three adjectives of how you would like to be seen. Because here's the thing about online, right? In any social media platforms that you choose, essentially you don't get you're not there to defend yourself from any misconception about your professional brand, correct? So that
Mhm.
means how they see you, whether it's your picture, your video, or the content you write, will be they would already establish the perception they have of you. So, in order to make sure that the perception is the right one, perhaps you want to first now start thinking about three main adjectives that how you want to be seen. And I would really advise everyone or strongly encourage you to dig deep into these adjectives. Example, don't just say I want to be seen profession to be I want to be seen as professional. What really is professional, right?
Mhm.
So maybe think of it this way. Um, Put yourself in the shoe of someone viewing your profile and
Mm.
really think, right, the first time when they see your profile, what's the first sentence that you want them to have in their mind? So I call this the personal brand elevator pitch, right? So in one sentence, how do people sum you up, right? And
Mm.
then when you get that sentence done and really, this is the final one, you're happy with this, then it's easier for you to build your platform or your presence from there. So that even from like as simple as your profile picture, how you write your content, how
Mm.
you engage with people, right? All these things can really be angled in a way to be in line with the adjectives that you have just put yourself that you have just described yourself in. So I think that's the very first step that you need to do.
Wow, it sounds
Yeah.
like something very easy to do and that
Yeah.
anyone can do. It's not rocket
Yeah.
science or anything, but
Oh, definitely.
yeah, but not
Yeah.
many people will actually think of doing it.
Yeah, so the most common thing I see is perhaps many individuals or many organizations, what they do is they would imitate maybe an industry leader in their industry. It's like, oh, you know
Mhm.
what? I want to be like XYZ. Then to
All right.
me, whenever clients come to me and tell me that, I would first ask them like, well, that's great. I mean, that's a good role model to emulate, right? Not imitate, right? Emulate.
Mhm.
But then the next thing you want to look at is that are your values and beliefs the same?
Mm.
Is your company direction the same way as well? Like, is your personality, if it's an individual, is your personality exactly the same as this person? Because if not, then you have a high chance of, going through burnouts, right? Because you're essentially forcing yourself to be like that person, which
Mm.
yeah, it's don't do that to yourself. I would say,
So it becomes very not natural and becomes more stressful than a
yeah,
joy. So what you're
yeah,
trying to say is personal brand is actually unique to each individual, right? I mean, you
yeah.
can emulate someone else, but not everything will be the same as the other person. So it's very unique to an individual, right?
Oh yes, yes, definitely. I think to me, based on my experience of like helping individuals and organizations in this aspect, right, I can safely say that there's no two people that are the same, even if they're from the same industry, same position, or even
Mhm.
same age and same cultural background. It is so different. There is always something about you that is uniquely different compared to your counterpart or your friendly competitors.
I like how you put it, your
Yeah.
friendly competitors.
Yes.
I mean, every competitor is also great. So yeah, that's the right word to use, friend.
Yeah, they are a motivation, right?
Yeah, of course, of course. So, how about offline platforms and balancing
Mhm.
between both, between the online and the offline? Because we are really out there right now, also. We are
Mhm.
also online.
Yeah.
So, how to balance the both of them?
Well, I think that's where we talk about authentic branding, right? That's where it
Mhm.
really comes to play, because how you project yourself online to me is the easier part, because it's really what you put in the picture in, how you write it, essentially, like I know a lot of individuals who really can write well, really has an amazing picture, but when I see them in person, you basically fail to project that particular facade, and that's so detrimental to your brand. So I think like online offline platforms, example like social networking, even like any sort of meetings that you go for, any business networking meetings, right? It's very important to make sure that when people experience you offline, it has to have that same adjectives that you have described yourself. The personal brand elevator pitch. It has to have that, so that I'm not saying that you have to dress the same way and speak the same way, no, but essentially when people see you and talk to you, right? And when they see your social media profiles and whatnot, it's not a shock to them. It feels very similar.
Okay.
Yeah, and how to achieve that, of course, there's a lot of subtleties that we talk about in this aspect. It's not just about looks. I think it's about really how you behave, how you speak. Some people, the England is right very hebat in online, right? But then when you see them like, hey, how come not same one, right? Yeah. So these things are like different elements that all of us need to really take into consideration. I think a lot of people don't realize this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What if the person is an introvert?
Mhm.
Uh, they can't really meet people very well. They can't communicate very well. They're not comfortable with people. They tend to shy away when they see people. But when it comes to social
Mm.
presence, they write love very nicely and stuff like that. What's your
Right.
thoughts on
Yeah. I think it's very common to see things like that because in social, when you write online, you're writing in the comfort of your own space, right? And
that?
you don't have the pressure of like really saying or articulating the same thing to a physical person, right? But I think this kind of situations, right? Practice makes perfect. And I think to introverts, the good news is that it's not like you have to go 360 and be a total extrovert about it, but I think it's just more of when you are speaking to someone, right? At least have that same level of enthusiasm. Doesn't have to mean that you have to be talkative, but maybe when you speak, that level of enthusiasm has to be there, so that at least people are able to see that well enough. And maybe in terms of your online presence, it is also great to share with people about this, right? It's like I'm an introvert. I love being online more, so that when people see you offline, like, oh, okay, now I understand. This is how this person's personality is.
Yeah, that's a
Yeah,
great answer to it because you already told people this is who you are. So when they
yeah,
meet you face to face, it's not a shock.
yeah, exactly. It's not really a shock. I mean, I can't begin to tell you how many people I've met this way that really shocked me. Like I would be like, oh, I mean, can't really tell it's the same person, or there was once I even like asked this person. I said like, can I understand like your LinkedIn picture? Like when did you take that picture? And this person said, oh, this is my wedding picture. So this was which was 20 years ago. So I'm like,
Wow,
wow, okay.
a bit obsolete.
Yeah, I think,
It doesn't connect now. The extra
yeah,
lines on the face don't connect currently.
exactly. Like, yeah, the filter, the very, very, uh, very clear skin kind of thing, no wrinkle. Yeah,
Yeah,
probably not
that's
a good
true.
idea, lah.
Yeah, so guys, remember always keep your profiles wherever it is on social media always up to date because then it
Yeah,
relates to the people you're going to be meeting with.
yeah.
Renuka, is there a difference between personal branding and professional branding?
Right. So I think both are, if you look at the Venn diagram, it kind of overlaps in certain ways. To me, I feel professional branding is a subset of personal brand. So why do I say that is because there are people who focus on personal branding, but they are not in the corporate line. Example, maybe they are influencers, maybe they're celebrities, right? But then when you talk about professional branding, then it's very related to, in professional settings, which is, whether you're in an organization or if you're a business owner, that relates more to you. So I think why I focus a lot more of my energy and work in professional branding is because previously when I started personal brand, a lot of people had that misconception that, the only reason I should focus on my personal brand is if I want to get famous.
Oh,
Yeah, which I was like, what?
wrong reason.
What? When?
When?
Yeah. So like, but I think this is a very common misconception. So it's like, oh, if I only focus if I want to be an influencer, or I only focus if, I'm going to break the scene as a celebrity, something like that, as a KOL. But
Mm,
it's not true actually. Like everyone needs to do it. It's just more of the level of intensity of the different elements in your brand relates to where you are. So if you're an influencer, if you want to be an online KOL, maybe the way you brand yourself is very different compared to
mm,
if you're like yourself, Sharon, a business owner. Yeah.
yeah.
So it's very different that way.
Okay. Talking about professional branding, right? You've explained it so well. Just say the person is now out at a restaurant with a
Yeah.
family. What's the
Mhm.
expectation of this professional brand now? Because they could bump into someone who is
Oh,
more
yeah, man.
privileged.
I totally feel you in this question. I had this experience many years ago. I think I told you this before, right? Like I went grocery shopping and then I bumped into a client and she said, I almost could not recognize you. That's what she told me because I was in glasses, I was wearing like shorts. I mean, like it's your normal weekend grocery shopping thing, right?
Mhm.
Which I think it's really the reality. I think it's not to say that even in weekends during your downtime you need to always look like super formal in that sense. But I think the message has to be very consistent. That means, example, let's say your brand message is that you want to be seen as someone very prim and proper, very polished, very professional that way. Perhaps in weekends during your downtime, you don't have to be in a suit and tie, but your
Mm,
casual clothes has to perhaps have a little bit of prim and properness to it. Maybe that's
mm,
that's that's how I see it actually. Yeah, so consistency across the board. And people be like, oh man, can't I just like be in like pajamas going out? Well, I feel nowadays, right, man, the world is really small, Shireen. Like I feel
yes.
anywhere I go, like my office is in Mid Valley right now, and some days I don't have calls. I'm just doing my work in the office, and I think to myself, can I just wear like specs and just wear like a t-shirt and shorts to work? Maybe not a good idea, because then what if I bump into someone and then the brand is becomes very inconsistent. Like
Mm,
I always believe that you can do 10 in 10 things, you do 9 things right, one thing wrong, right? People remember you for that one thing wrong, right?
so true. That's
So
so true. I,
yeah, so
I
that's
have
how it
this.
is.
Yeah, I have this thing where I'm very comfortable with just slippers. I can dress nicely on top. We can be so professional on top, my
Yeah.
slippers at the bottom. But when I go meet the client, I change it. But I just cannot wear the nice kind of shoes and go for shopping. I still
uh,
need to get comfortable, so gotta be a
yeah.
bit careful on that.
Yeah, I think just like a little bit of like and maintaining a little bit of like the level of effort that you have during work to your casual look is good enough. I mean, for me, even like on my downtime, do I wear like full on makeup? I don't.
Mhm.
But I think at least I don't uh look like I am unrecognizable lah. I think that was a very huge lesson for me.
Okay.
When that client was like, "Oh my God, I almost couldn't recognize you." I'm like, "Oh, okay, that's telling you something, right?"
Yeah, something needs to be
Yeah,
done big time.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, I guess one of the other things that we want to tell the audience is also when they go out, make sure their clothes are well ironed and we go out and on.
Oh,
Yeah,
yes,
that's
yes,
mm,
yeah. I think especially for I mean, I wanted to say just especially for business owners, but now thinking about it really quickly, I think it's for all.
mm,
Yeah, like you would bump into people regardless of where you are. I think
that's
that's just the
nice.
reality of it.
Mm.
And some of my clients even tell me right now, with face mask, people maybe cannot recognize you. You are so wrong. I think you can. I think the other day I was so I bumped into a connection from LinkedIn. Never met
Uh-huh.
this person in person. I've never met this connection in person, and she could immediately identify who I was. So I was like, man, I was with a face mask. So that tells you, right? It's you're even if you're wearing a face mask, trust me, people can still make out who you are.
Exactly. It's sometimes about the way you move and your body
Yeah,
language and just your
yeah,
shoulder blades and stuff and your high haircuts.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly.
So there's no running away from it. So always take note and be very conscious about your professional brand when in or out, in the house or out of the house, online or offline. Is that right, Renuka?
Yeah, exactly. Very true.
Okay, so one thing I like to ask you, if there's
Mm,
one advice you can give our audience on being remembered better, standing out in the
mm,
personal branding. Okay, just say someone goes for an interview, or
mm.
maybe we go and see clients very often, right?
Right.
What is the one thing that immediately people can remember you for a long time because you keep doing that over and over again? Is there
Oh.
something like a color tone that you can use that get people to remember you better? Or I sometimes have my sunglasses on my head, not because I'm branding myself that way, but because it's convenient. But yeah, 90% of the time I got the sunglasses on my head. But what are the things that people can do to
Right.
be remembered long term by the client, or even for those going for interview by the interviewer?
Okay, so I actually have two tips for the audience, and two are very different aspects of branding. I think first thing, just now you mentioned about color. I think the easiest way to really be memorable is if you wear high contrast outfits. So by high contrast, it basically means, like example, if you're wearing a dark color, a black color blazer, perhaps what you're wearing in your camisole or your shirt has to be a lighter color. So higher contrast always makes you look more memorable. So that's on the look part. Now on the communication or the behavioral aspect of things, this is something I noticed. Even when I was in corporate, and this is something I also do share with my clients, is in any meetings that you're in, always remember to ask one intelligent question.
Ah,
Yeah, so when I say intelligent question, it means that you're not asking something for the sake of asking. Because Shireen, I'm sure you know people like that, right? Like, you hear that question and you're like, why are you even asking that, right? Were you not even paying attention, right?
yes.
So asking intelligent questions are basically questions that are thought provoking, that helps you continue the conversation more. And I think the best way to actually be able to ask a good question is if you prepare. You come prepared, right? You know the in and outs of what's the training agenda, the meeting agenda going to be like, or you know the interviewer in that case. That helps you to carve out a question that perhaps makes you stand out, because if you're asking a thought provoking question, people remember you for sure. Yeah,
Definitely. Wow, I
yeah.
like that. Those are very good tips, and tips that you've shared with all the viewers. So, Renuka, I think
Right.
we've come to the end of the questions that we have. So, I really like to thank you because it's been so good. I've learned so
Oh,
many tips from you too.
oh,
And
that's my pleasure, Shireen.
there's so much more that I want to learn from you. So I'd like to thank you so much for your time, and we will meet up soon again.
Sure, sure. My pleasure. Have a good day.
You too, Ranukka. Take care.
All right. Take care. Stay safe.
You too. Bye. Remember, if you don't brand yourself, someone else will brand you for you, and that would not be really great, would it? So remember, branding yourself is so important, and professional branding is for everyone and anyone. Being at a workplace, like Renuka mentioned, it's already an expectation. So how do you be different? It's really by branding yourself. So sit down today and come up with the three adjectives of how you would like to be seen, whether you are at C level or even a fresh graduate. Do it now, do it today, because it is that important. Like I said, three adjectives of how you would like people to see you. And then from there on, you can start branding yourself. So remember, guys, you will always want to be remembered by other people. And these are the two tips of how you can be remembered better. Tip number one is by using different colors, meaning colors that are contrasting. If you're using a dark color jacket, blazer, you use a lighter or a brighter color shirt or a camisole. And tip number two, this is so interesting because always ask one intelligent question in your meeting or your interview, and that will allow people to remember you. What is an intelligent question? An intelligent question is not about the weather, it's not about the traffic on the road, but it's really an intelligent question that will get you remembered because the conversation will continue and it goes into a deep conversation. So I hope this has been really valuable to you. Wondering about which training program you'll need for you and your team? Just Ask the Trainers, brought to you by Compass Mind Asia. Watch more of our episodes on my YouTube channel, Shireen Kelly. Till our next episode, signing off. Bye.